XM82. Steve Toy a little bit later on. Eddie, the day off today. So you, me, and the calls. Mike in Orange County gets his crack here momentarily. Boy, you think the baseball is having their trouble and having a long day? The NBA is a mess here, too. All these big players, and they're not great stars, but they're older players trying to get a little piece of a championship trophy. You know, whether that be Griffith with the Nets, Aldridge, buyout Nets, Drummond, buyout Lakers. I mean, this is going to be a joke. I mean, first off, here's a little word of two things I want to say. Well, really three things. For the player who decides, late in his career, hasn't won anything yet, he bails out of a franchise for whatever the reason, and then he can pick his spot where he wants to go. You think that that it's going to be meaningful when you play basically 20 regular season games and you piggyback, whether it's piggybacking Durant, Harden, and Irving, piggybacking Anthony Davis and LeBron, and you piggyback for a championship run, and then you celebrate like you were part of this, from the day it was built, is a bunch of nonsense. All right, so that is going to bother me. So Aldridge, Drummond, all these guys who think, what the hell? I haven't won yet. Let me go join Brooklyn and the Lakers, and I can win a title, and to a certain degree the Clippers too, and I can go out there and I can win a championship. And that's not the way sports is supposed to work, where, you've worn out your welcome in a specific city, you're near the end of your career, you have labored long and hard, all fair, you have picked some wrong destination spots, that's your fault. But you've labored long and hard, and at the end of the day, you say, you know what? I may not be a big factor, but what the hell? Let me go get a ring with this franchise that's got a chance to win a championship. That means absolutely nothing in the big picture. Well, what you play 5 regular season games and show up for an NBA postseason run with the Nets. Maybe you play a couple of games where you play 8-9 minutes if you're Aldridge, and all of a sudden now you think that if you win a championship, that's going to be meaningful, like it would be for a Jerry West type who did nothing but basically labor away for year after year with the Lakers, 82 games a year, banged up and everything else, never winning a championship, going up against Russell. You think that ring is going to mean the same to you as it did the West when he finally won one with the Lakers? Come on, stop. And that's a major problem. I mean, and you've seen it here in the last 4 or 5 days. The NBA that has, some regular season almost insurmountable difficulty of trying to make the regular season meaningful with load management and players bailing out and not playing, and realizing that nothing is established by regular season. The best team is always going to win anyway. The NBA has major credibility problems in its regular year, and this makes it worse. That's the first thing I wanted to say. Second thing I wanted to say, the Nets can go bring in Chamberlain, Russell, Cousy, Bob Pettit. I mean, nobody in New York cares about the Nets. I've said this to you 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again. Especially now at the Knicks at least being relatively competitive. Nobody in New York right now really cares that much about the Brooklyn Nets. This is an issue that is going to be part of the problem really all year long with the Nets. And I think the Nets seem to think, and I don't care what TV ratings say. I mean, they're so flimsy, these TV ratings. I live here, so I sense it. Nobody, and by the way, Torres just made a throwing error, so much for him improving his defensive play at shortstop for the Yankees. But the idea that somehow, some way, although he may have been out at first base, well, maybe he bobbled it, Jay Bruce. But nobody in New York is going to, run down to the Canyon of Heroes to go out there. He is out, bad call. That is going to run down to the Canyon of Heroes to make sure they see the Nets with their parade and watch Harden on the Rats, shaking everybody's hand. I guess they're not going to replay that bad job. He was out. That I don't understand. Nobody cares that much about Brooklyn. They are, a mercenary team that the players just came in here as mercenaries. That includes Durant, Harden especially, now Aldridge and Griffin. There's no feeling of community with the Brooklyn franchise and its fan base. Now, I know there's no fans there right now, but there's no connection. There's none. They've bounced around. They've been a nomadic franchise, and now they've cherry-picked free agents. Free agents decide they want to go play there because their buddies are there, or in Harden's case, he's got Durant and Irving there. In Griffin's case, he's got all 3 of them there. Same thing goes for Aldridge. So let me go but it doesn't build any continuity with the fan base. So that is a major problem for that franchise. That's number two. So I don't like these players think that that this championship is going to be meaningful. Let me go jump aboard the Brooklyn train. Come on, please. And furthermore, these players who don't know anything about Brooklyn, who wouldn't know the Gil Hodges from Coney Island or Nathan's Hot Dogs if it fell on them. They know nothing about it. They think all of it, and they don't even live in Brooklyn. They live in New York, and they live in a high rise in the Trump Tower, not maybe Trump Tower, but they live in a high rise down in Battery Park, and they get a car service. They go to the Barclays, and they go home every day. They wouldn't know Brooklyn. They fell on them, for crying out loud. Fell on them. So Brooklyn is a team that's going to be in my crosshairs here for a long period of time. And they have a good chance to win the NBA championship. I don't know if anybody at the end of the day is really going to care that much in the city of New York. That is going to be a fascinating watch. Now, the Knicks are relatively competitive this year. They're at 500. I think everybody likes Thibodeau. They've done a very, very good job. They've been into it. They've had a good year, and I think that's taken a little. And the Knicks fighting 500 is a bigger story in New York than the Nets, who are basically 20-3 in their last 23 games. Think about that for a minute. The Knicks are 22-22, whatever their record is, and they had a bad loss last night in Minnesota. Then it blew a 19-point lead. The Knicks in that setting are a bigger story on a day-in, day-out basis to the Nets, who are basically 32-16 or 15, whatever they're at, 32-15. Think about it for a minute. Think about that. So Aldridge and Griffith and who knows, God knows who's next. Vince Carter? They can all jump aboard and think, wow, look at this. What a caravan this is going to be. We'll have a ball here. We'll win a championship. We'll be toasted in New York forever and ever and ever. We'll never have to buy a drink again. And what the hell? I can make myself available for a parade in July. Guys, nobody cares. Nobody cares. The Nets, it's unfortunate because they do play in a great arena, but I've said this 1,000 times. The Nets are still in a situation where they can win 9 championships. They're still an outsider. 11 after the hour. We continue. We're at Mad Dog Russo-Nobody.